Good afternoon, everyone. We are again back with Reimagine, the school leadership virtual webinar. And we are back ahead now with a fresh topic which is being discussed by everyone today in India. The impact and road ahead for class 12 student on college and university admissions in India. All the panelists, I would request you to just switch on your camera. That will help the audience to see all of you. I have with me a distinguished panel who's going to discuss about the road ahead for students in class 12. It was quite an uncertain time for all of us. Last 15 months has been really ups and downs with everyone's life. And to some extent, I would say that the most anxious person probably would be the parent and the student who are in class 12. And clearly we can see that the students, when CBSE, ICSE and many state boards actually came out and shared their perspective with respect to cancellation of the 12th board exam, to some extent for some part of the student, I would say that a section of the students were happy about it, that finally we don't have to study for class 12 exams. And a part of students, I'm sure, are very, very anxious. And the parents, I would say largely, are very, very anxious with respect to what's the road ahead now with respect to admission. We just thought that this is right time for us to bring in the key people from university side and discuss about what is the road ahead. And I would like to actually introduce the panelists so that our audience can actually see who all are here today and how they are going to discuss about the road ahead for admissions in universities in India. I'd like to introduce Dr. Kalai. Dr. Kalai is actually the director of UG admissions at Vellore Institute of Technology. He takes care of the entire test VIT EEE. So any student who would like to understand more about VIT EEE, he is the go-to person. He has designed the test and he's driving this test forward. Thank you so much, sir, for joining on this webinar and sharing your views with respect to road ahead for students who are going to apply to universities in India.
It's a pleasure, Mr. Vikram, to share and connect with all the people.
Thank you, sir. Next is Mr. Mahesh. Sir, thank you so much for joining in. He is the chairman BTech admissions at Amrita Vishwa Vidyapeetham. He manages everything with respect to BTech admissions at Amrita. And he has spent more than 23 years in Amrita institutions. So sir has been a veteran there and he manages everything end to end. Sir, welcome you on the webinar and ready to understand more about Amrita and admissions related to class 12 students for undergrad programs. Thank you for joining in, sir.
Thank you, Vikram. Thank you so much.
Next is Dr. Meena Chintanmani. She is the registrar at NMIMS University. Ma'am has been spending a lot of time across managing both the undergrad admissions as well as postgrad admissions at NMIMS. She spent more than 20 years in the field of academic research and academic administration. Very, very fondly, I'm associated with ma'am for many years personally as well. I know ma'am for last almost 7-8 years and it's a pleasure to actually host you here, ma'am, on this webinar. Thank you for joining in.
It's always a pleasure to connect to students and of course to you, Vikram. Thank you very much.
Thank you, ma'am. Next is Mr. Manoj Kutti. He is the Director Administration and International Relations at SRM University, Sonipat. He has been actually driving the entire international academic partnerships for SRM group of institutions, particularly for Sonipat campus. Thank you so much, sir, for joining in and sharing your views with respect to admissions for class 12 students in universities.
Thank you, Vikram. Good afternoon, everyone. Looking forward.
Next panelist is Dr. R.K. Gupta. He is the Director Admissions for Manipal University, Jaipur. Thank you so much, sir, for joining in. Sir has spent more than 26 years in actually versatile teaching in industrial and administrative experience. He has over 26 years. And sir has managed many positions in many prestigious organizations. And sir is going to share his perspective as well as what Manipal University is doing with respect to undergrad admissions. Thank you so much, sir, for joining in.
Thank you, Vikram. Thank you. Thank you very much.
And last, we have Mr. Anil Nair. He is the Director for Admissions and Outreach at Shiv Nadar University. He has spent more than 23 years in branding, business development, client relationship before joining Shiv Nadar University. I had a pleasure of working very closely with Mr. Anil Nair for last many years. And I fondly remember those days, sir. Thank you so much for joining in and sharing your views on admissions for class 12 students today on this webinar.
Thanks, Vikram. It's a pleasure to be part of this panel and talking to the young minds.
So very, very briefly, I'm going to kind of take this session with respect to your feedback across institutions. We have representations from South, from North, as well as from West. And we have all the reputed university. In fact, out of the 6 universities which we have here, who are 4 of them are Institute of Eminence. So I feel privileged that I'm going to kind of host this webinar along with key people at the university, and hopeful that the parents and students and counselors who are joining this webinar will be able to take a leaf out of this webinar in terms of from uncertainty to actually curiosity with respect to the admissions for undergrad admissions. My name is Vikram and I lead the UniApply business for No Paper Forms. No Paper Forms is currently working with more than 400 universities in India and abroad. And very proudly, I can share that 4 out of 6 universities who are present here are working very closely with No Paper Forms. They are our clients. So happy to kind of share that perspective as well with audience. So very quickly, I'm going to actually get into the discussion on the topic that what next for class 12 students with respect to admissions at university. And I would like to actually invite Mr. Nair to share his initial reaction in terms of what he as well as his university feels about the decision from CBSE and ICSC, and obviously many state boards. I know all 50 state boards haven't come up and shared their views with respect to whether they are going to cancel it or not, but many of them have came forward and shared that they are also going to scrap the exam for class 12. So sir, how the university is viewing this move from your perspective, if you can share from a Shiv Nadar University's perspective as well, sir.
Okay, thanks for Vikram. I'll take the privilege to answer this question, but I believe most of my panelists would also share. I think it's a wise decision in terms of, to basically curtail down the uncertainty and anxiety level. We are already pressing too hard the young minds, already delaying further. So that's a welcoming decision. And I think most of the educationists, I'm talking about pure education, see this trend of board exam scrapping as an overhauling of our education system. Exam doesn't decide. But unfortunately, as I told you, India with the mass, we have more the demand and supply kind of a gap. That's the reason this whole filtration of board is coming up. Now, I think progressive university like us, we being also been given the status of Institute of Eminence, we have a lot of privilege, can run it. So I think last year itself, we have moved to a process where the board marks is just an assessment happen and an eligibility criteria. That's all. It doesn't become a deciding factor, the weightage for selecting a student. Please see there's a different what we have. So in any case, I think, as you mentioned, Dr. Kalechi from the VIT already developed their own test and all. That's there and all. So the board marks was always for private university, I think for that space, was certain level of, eligibility criteria. That's how it is to go. And we have our internal process of interview, test, exams is happening. So for us, it's not a big change, to be very honest, because we already started with this process. I think the only challenge is going to be, we need to see what kind of a model the CBSE will come back with in terms of marks comes up, because there will be not a parity. Bihar board of 13 lakh students already given exam results there. Some board is given exam, not given pre-board, so there is a lot of disparity among the settlement, what they're going to see. And one of the session we were taking yesterday, there would be a lot of litigation also going to come to CBSE very soon. 9th, if they take model, I had this incident happen. 10th was great, but you're averaging out with 9th. So this is a lot of complexity which I feel it from there. So I think we all private universities, as we were going to wait and watch, Vikram. In any case, our eligibility criteria is there only less than 70%. We have selected giving provisional offers through our internal testing system and interview. In case, if it is has to be scrapped, we'll take a call in academic division. Okay, look, no, this is not becoming a clear picture. We might say, okay, no, you passed well, that's no. Or we will see how it goes and then we take a decision. But I think all students need to understand we are all in this together. This will affect them. The part is changed. Initially, it was an uncertainty. We were in that phase. Now move to a curiosity phase. And parents are more curiosity like right now. Okay, student. So that's what I feel. From our space, we are going. The challenge will comes to most of the INI Institute of National Importance, public university, for an example in North DU, very predominantly banking on the board marks and all. That's where the challenge comes up and all more to us. That's my personal belief I'm thinking.
Thank you so much, Mr. Anil, for sharing your view. I'll quickly go to Dr. Meena. Ma'am, what's your perspective with respect to NMIMS University in terms of this move, and how are you viewing this change?
Vikram, to be very frank, we thought that this decision came up a little late because all of us were in this pandemic for almost a year. We thought it was getting better, but for the last 2 months, the condition was absolutely not getting better. It was worsening. And this age group of students, still we have not come up with a vaccination drive. So it was pretty clear even 2 months back that the things are not going to be improving. So in fact, according to our internal discussion, we expected such a decision to come. And having said so, we had already decided, like last year, we didn't want to have any kind of a change because we had switched over. Initially, we used to have 50% online and then, center-based exams and all that. So we had decided long back, immediately after the last academic year started, that we would go ahead because we had standardized the process quite a bit and we would go ahead with the same kind of online examination. So the processes were set and we had already reached the market saying that don't worry, 12th, you need to have your minimum eligibility, which means to comply with the statutory bodies, with the engineering rule, the pharmacy rule and all that. Otherwise, don't worry, we have our exams in the market, give our exams and we go ahead. As last year, even when the all the universities, most of the universities were struggling to even start the academic year smoothly, we had started our academics right from August 16th. So we were sure enough that we would start our academic year from this August, except for the engineering, we start a bit late. But for all the other, because it's a multidisciplinary university, engineering is one of the 16 disciplines that we have. So, being a multidisciplinary university, we had to look into in toto. And that's where we, in fact, conducted many webinars and we reached out as much as we could to students. So, because all of us are going through a phase where so many things unprecedented is happening. Let this not happen that the students are worried because of the 12th standard board marks. But of course, we did get many reactions where students who had prepared a lot for the exam were really struggling to reach us and say, we have done so much and there has to be weightage to the 12th. There were so many emails and so many requests that were coming even during the sessions, live sessions. But as a whole, the university has decided 12th would be only one of the eligibility criteria where that's a norm that you need to be 12th pass. Otherwise, we stick to our admission criteria. Predominantly is our undergraduate test. And for few programs that we have a personal interview. And for some of our programs like architecture and design, we have our studios and all those things that are going on. And we've started the process. But of course, the process of filling in the forms and registrations is open so that we give opportunity to the child. Even after the decision of 12th standard board exams getting cancelled, the student still can think and can make the decision by himself. This is the first phase that's going on. We generally finish in the first phase and then we start the academic year by the August 1st.
Sure, ma'am. I think that's quite clear in terms of, we have got two responses already from Mr. Anil and Dr. Meena, that class 12 results are eligibility criteria. So for all students out there, all parents out there, please take a note of this, that at least these two universities are saying that class 12 marks are just an eligibility criteria to apply to their programs. Let me quickly go to Dr. Kalai and understand from him about VIT and where he thinks this is going from a VIT university's point of view.
Thank you, Mr. Vikram. So, as Dr. Anil rightly pointed out, VIT had its own brand of examinations for engineering or VT. This response may be taken in two sides. For example, the first one is from the parents and students' point of view, which is actually relief, as everybody agrees, and cancellation is the right move at the right time. And as previous panelists pointed out, this is only eligibility. As all of us know, JEE says that even for IITs and all, just pass is enough. So from the point of students may not scared about how it is going to be. Anyhow, there will be minimum criteria, many will pass actually. That's one thing from the students' point of view. The other thing for the administrators, again, there might be some pooling at the top. For example, we have to find a factor to differentiate among all these. Obviously, there is going to be some inflation of marks if it is going to be like internal and other, if it comes from the school. So we have to adjust for that. Probably those programs for which are admission criteria is based on the +2 marks, we have to look at the other points of assessment. For example, maybe a personal interview or one more aptitude test, depending on the division they are going to be in. For example, management and all, they may need some aptitude test. Whereas the science, we may have to give some interview, and this actually is good. For example, instead of blindly deciding on one test, actually, we can find the actual profile of the student, whether he will be able to go through the program, the end program. So that's actually good, in fact. So in my opinion and VIT opinions, as everybody pointed out, this is just eligibility. There will be some weight to +2 marks, but that is not ultimately going to be the deciding factor.
Sure. So clearly there will be some weight to class 12 marks, but it is not a deciding factor, at least in case of VIT. And I'll come back on that question to all the panelists. I'm just keeping it in the parking lot because it is very important that in the past, for so many years, I think the universities have designed the process in a way that there is some weightage to class 10 marks, some weightage to class 12 marks, and some weightage to the test and personal interview with all the universities doing personal interviews for programs. So how that mix is going to change, I'll come back to that. But before that, I'll quickly go to Dr. Gupta and check with him what is Manipal University's opinion on this, sir, and where are you with respect to this decision? What are you doing, sir? Sir, you are on mute.
Rightly said the other panelists, and I agree with that. But the government has already decided that 10th examinations, they were cancelled earlier, and then they have taken the 1 more month to decide the 12th examination. That decision came, they can take earlier also along with the 10th examination, and they can say 1 or 2 months. And then the students can decide for their betterment. If they have decided, a government has decided earlier this. And nowadays, from the last 1 month, is a lot of news in the market, how the examination will be conducted, 1.5 hour examination, objective type, proctor type, or whatever the mode is there. And so I stopped, and then examinations were cancelled. And this similarly, like in Manipal University, Jaipur, we are taking admission in 3 different modes. One is for the engineering admissions, they're taking through the Manipal entrance test. And secondly, this eligibility criteria on the basis of the SET examination, score in the SET examination, or on the basis of the 10th percentage and the 12th percentage. They're scoring high. And the other programs, like we are offering the non-engineering programs other than the engineering programs. One is architecture program, so the admission is on the basis of the NATA exam only, and they have cleared. For this year, NATA is not taking admissions. NATA is not allowing the admissions through the JEE architecture examination, so that's why this is only depend upon the NATA examination. And thirdly, Then the other programs we are taking on the personal interview basis. So we are taking the personal interview of the student and then admitting the students. So there are three criteria. One is the entrance test, other one is personal interview, and then the eligibility criteria. Like apart from that, like every year, means a student has to decide from the last 1.5 year or the 1 year they are at the home. So definitely means they are preparing for the 12th examination, and most of these students they are like every year more than 2 lakh or 2.5 lakh students are going there abroad. So how these is the other universities are deciding for that, how they are taking the admission, but they have the other universities they made it the option of this examination. And the secondly, like the means the students, every student, those are at home and their examinations were cancelled and they are sitting at home from the last 1.5 year. And now the second question is come that how the premier institution in the country, like Institute of National Importance and the Institute of Eminence, how they are taking the admission. Because in all other Institute of National Importance, admissions are on the basis of the entrance examination. If these examinations were cancelled, then how the CBSE will decide what will be the 12%. Because of that, last year, more than 2.5 lakh students or 3 lakh students were not taken the admission in any of the institute. Now the situation will improve and will take the admission next year. So there may be this is I can say the challenge among the students. What happened with the last year students? What happened to each students, and how? Definitely, the percentage of the students depend upon the school, what they have performed in the school, and then only decided. The school performance is the only deciding factor, and this deciding factor is different to the different schools, not common to all. So that is a one point from this means a CBSE or the other boards. Like every year 75 lakh students, 80 lakh students are admitting in the different courses from engineering, non-engineering, from BA and other courses. So there is a big challenge for them, and big challenge for the all boards, all means a CBSE board, ICSE board, and all others. That's my point.
That's true, sir. Actually, it's a big challenge for all of boards, actually ICSE, CBSE, and state boards. And again, I'll come to one more question around that. But before that, let me just take a quick view from Mr. Kutti from SRM University. That where does SRM University stand in terms of this decision, and what is their thinking in terms of how to move forward with the admissions?
Yeah, my first initial reactions to the government's initiative is that that's a brilliant decision. They say rather late than never, right? So I believe we are at this juncture where the government has made the right decision, but only one thing what is probably missing is the standard operating procedure. Like now they said before 15th, the boards, and we need to take a decision on how do we actually approach this problem. I think probably a little bit of it should have been the other way around. Probably they should have thought about the ways to deal with this, so the students are more informed and aware, and probably then they would have actually informed it. And on the other hand, if you talk about SRM, I would like to confess that yes, last year we were struggling, we were sort of sinking, but this year we got overboard, and no matter how much our waves are coming at us, we're going to go overboard, and we are going to definitely come out of the situation. And definitely students have, as rightly suggested by Dr. Gupta, many students were planning for year drop, and they were planning to sort of put the education on hold. But I don't think that's the right idea, because at the end of the day, good institutions like what we have here have already adapted various technologies to counter such kind of the pandemic situation. And UGC has also declared it rightly that 40% of the online courses can be delivered from the university, be it pandemic or without pandemic, right? So this has become a norm, right? It's always going to be like that you're going to be almost having half of your lectures delivered online. So I think all good institutions have already have the best state-of-art IT to enroll that. And if you talk about the admission process, yes, we do. Class 12 is one of the criteria, but it's not the only criteria, right? So there's going to be a good subset of mix of class 12, class 10. And the good thing about what government is doing right now is it's not just very rigid on having a set of rules. So eventually, even if the student is not going to be happy, the government has ensured that at a later stage they're going to have another exam. So let us not forget that. So don't worry. So in the worst case, let's say, see, basically the cancellation means it's all pass, first of all. So congrats to all here. But the other hand, if they want to sort of improve on this course, they always have another option coming in. And even if they join an institution, even if they want to change their ideas, at the end of the day, thanks to the NUP, we're going to get a certification at the end of the day. So you continue or not, there's always a lot of options. So don't wait. A lot of good institutions are open for admissions. Grab onto the opportunity because time waits for none. One last point from my side. If you look at the industry, good industries have stopped, relying upon marks. Like you can see Zoho, for example, it's taking students from class 10th into their onboarding students, and they don't need a degree. So sort of reverse psychology is happening here. So industries have started doing that, right? Without the need for marks. Institutions are already going in the direction. It's just a matter of time when school will already start looking at the skill sets, the mentality of the student rather than marks. And I think that's a brilliant move, and we are going in the right direction, and I'm looking forward.
Thank you so much for sharing your and SRM University's view. Very quickly, I want to give chance to Mr. Mahesh from Amrita Vishwavidyalaya. Sir, what's been your decision as well as Amrita University's decision with respect to the admissions for undergrad programs?
Yeah, Vikram, I think I'll add on to whatever the other panelists said, because they have already mentioned what the privilege the institutions are enjoying because of IOE tag and being the top premier institutions in India. So we last year itself, Amrita adapted towards situation, and we went completely with the proctor type of examination. Though last year we had considered the board marks for ranking, this year we are not considering it, of course, because of the uncertainty. And we are going completely with the entrance marks alone for the engineering admissions. And in addition to that, we have adopted a way in which the candidates are allowed to take multiple examinations, and we will take the best score. Maybe 3 or 4 times they can take the exam, and we will take the best score for ranking. So that is some advantage which we thought of. And one thing is that, as Anil rightly pointed, there is no uncertainty now. So the rest of the time needs to be invested mostly on finding out the right institutions and right programs for the students. And there is no meaning in getting too much upset about the situation, because there is nothing we can do which is totally out of our control. So that's all what I wanted to add. Thank you, Vikram.
Sure. So broadly, we have got an insight from the eminent panelists with respect to class 12 results, that majority of them are looking at that as one of the basic criteria to apply to the programs. But the question really is with respect to, we've got 15 lakh schools in India, largely if you look at it, and 30,000 odd schools are CBSE, ICSE put together. Rest all are state governed schools largely, and private schools. So the point is how the equalization and normalization will happen for a class 12 scores of candidate. Reason being, every school or every state has their own way of teaching and own way of evaluating a student. So some state boards might look at students in a different way. Some schools might look at students in a different way. So how are you going to ensure that you are going to look at 12th as an eligibility broadly? And in some cases where some programs, obviously you have to only look at class 12 score and an interview. How will you ensure that the normalization and equalization across the boards, as well as CBSE and ICSE, is taken care of? I'll quickly go to Dr. Kalai and kind of get his perspective with respect to equalization and normalization for class 12.
Thank you, Mr. Vikram. See, normalization, the normal thing itself is a big challenge. That is one of the reason why we have BT every year for engineering programs. For the other program also, we have other measures in place. For example, maybe an interview or one more additional test in addition to the things. If we have like the boards, there are like 40 boards across India, and evaluating as a IOE institution, we are getting a lot of applications all across India. So over and the board marks, we do offer some weightage for that, but over and above, we do have other measures to, especially for those non-engineering programs where +2 marks is one of the criteria. For engineering, we only consider the plus 2 marks for eligibility, not for even for weightage, we don't add the plus 2 marks. So I would say we should look at the personal interview or some sort of other achievements. For example, whether they have in the KOIPC or some other competitions, how they have brought out their passion towards the course. So those kind of parallel assessments would do add to the student's profile, for which will be easier for us to select the students. So we should always look for the passion, whether it is there with the students for the particular program. For example, the agriculture, the architecture, we do conduct interview and group discussions and observe how the students perform within this selection criteria. And we use that in addition to the plus 2 marks. So normalization for the plus 2 marks, it's very, very difficult. It's very difficult to implement unless all the boards consent to come out with some percentage systems. It's been already proposed, but I don't think many boards have implemented that actually. So this is where the government can intervene and introduce some sort of percentage system instead of just a score system. So this will help our administrators to decide on the percentage base if we are to rely on the plus 2 marks alone. So this is one of our suggestions we have discussed extensively. Even we try to compare the boards with our VIT performance. We did that exercise also. There are differences, of course. You know, the boards, for some boards, they offer very good marks, but the performance may not be exactly very good compared to the marks. For example, if you go to the IE boards and all, they normally have low scores, but they do very good performance in terms of other things. Holistic performance, it's kind of IE boards. So our take with that is that we should not only look at the marks, but as I said earlier, we should look beyond the marks. Probably other panelists may also come up with some suggestions. I will stop with this. Thank you.
Sure. Let me quickly go to Mr. Anil and understand from him, sir. You have been doing the test SNU SAT since the beginning of the university. And obviously, when we discussed about that, class 12 is an eligibility for most of the institutions now. But obviously, you have a historical data which suggests that on an average, if this kind of percentage in 10 and 12, and then on the test gives you a kind of cushion to look at the candidate in a different way for admission. So how are you going to do that in the current set of things? Have you kind of created something which will give you an idea that an Andhra board X percentage is equivalent to a Gujarat board's Y percentage and vice versa?
Okay, yeah. So just to add on what Dr. Kalai has mentioned, please understand, I think all the university, like we are almost on a decade more, 10 years in the whole system of selecting. And from the inception, we had our own test. So I would like to re-emphasize what we said, that each board, especially the parity, is not at all there in terms of state board to state board. I think one of the session where Prof. Maheshwar was with me yesterday, I raised this, if you recall 2 or 3 years back in Delhi University, there was a particular program where a particular board had the maximum number of students joined, and that became a big issue and all. So please understand, they're also not prepared how to handle this, okay? Because nobody thought of that. There were certain litigation happened, people have read, but nothing happened, it slowed down. That happened. So we have also internally failed it like that. I don't want to name certain specific board right now here, but yes, we try to do a normalization, but I'm telling very honestly, it's not a scientific method, okay? It's different from cohort to cohort. So let's say 2019, there's a cohort who have a given test, maybe a different than this. So let's take it out this year's performance, probably. The whole education system delivery happened on online. We are only talking about, slightly a private sector and all. Nobody's talking about NIIS, National Open School. We are not talking about a majority of the students who are in remote tier 2 cities and all, whether it happened or not happened. Like my son's school, they have done the practicals through 3D augmentation, the labs. Was it available to others? So please understand that current scenario, it would be really, really tough to do a parity. But yes, our historical data will tell us something on a certain bracket. Okay, if this is a performance, this is what it match. Until 2019, our merit list was predominantly on our test and the performance in the board marks, clearly. Adding up both, whether 60 or 40 or 50 or 50, and then merit list used to come. Now we have reached to a situation where I know if this is the performance of a child, I can reverse depict. Let's say he performed at this level at my test, his range in CBS, let's say PCM for engineering would be this much definitely. I'll go 5% division because that's what predominantly we came across this. So I don't think so. We have as an internally this challenge, as I told you, this board marks is not becoming a weightage criteria, but I'm telling and repeating again. So there is no question coming out what comes up now. The only challenge we need to take it, the eligibility criteria, will the university will continue or not continue? That as I mentioned for Shivananda University, we're going to wait and watch what kind of formula and permutation combination they're coming up with. So a simple criteria I'm talking, Bihar board student given test, I think result says there, 13 lakh. How are you going to deal it? Will they normalize their score also or not? I'm just simple hypothetical thing. So it's a really a tough situation. I think the best approach would be each university has their historical data. And as I told, we already given provisional admission. We are just waiting for the last leg about the board, which is eligibility. We are either going to waive it off or will revise. It may be possible this year, it's possible that I continue with the 70 and the student comes up and say, sir, as per their criteria, 9th, this is lost. I lost 1 mark and I'm just missed with 1%. What will do? So I think these are unprecedented times. We have to be nimble and sensitive about the situation. And I think all progressive university would be focusing centered toward the students that way. So I don't think so there's an issue which I believe, yes, I'm again repeating, this would be a major challenge for public universities and state run, where they're only banking in the board marks. That's where the challenge comes, because I don't think so they have the logistically capability, I'm talking about currently, to change into some sort of tests or exams as quick as we, the private sector, has adopted fast enough. So that's what I feel. Vikram.
I think you make a very valid point with respect to public universities as well as public colleges affiliated to state universities. And clearly private universities are, at least the progressive private universities have decoded this entire admission piece with respect to how to look at various scores from 10th, 12th, as well as their own test. But at the same time, if Dr. Meena, I have to go to you and ask that question. In the previous years, there will be some percentage or some weightage given to class 10 and 12 for a university admission. Is going to change now for NMIMS per se? Are you looking at that, or how are you going to look at that in the light of this change?
Vikram, coming to the different boards, when I was a student, we used to get 5 marks more when we came from CBSE board. Gone is the time where, even openly it has been declared that plus 5% is given to students who come from CBSE boards. So it's long back that this discrimination, although we know there is a lot of difference, probably in the width of the topic, the depth of the topic that they do, or the grasping of the students coming from different boards, there is a lot of difference. But we've gone away with giving extra weightage to students who come from different boards. We only rely on what is being given to them from their respective boards. Now, coming on to the weightage given for the 12th standard or the 10th standard marks, we at our undergraduate level from last year, because of the uncertainty, and this year we had particularly decided because the whole teaching and learning has gone online. You never know how serious have been people. Maybe they have, many of them have been serious, but you never know how the learning and how the teaching has been happening. Although everybody is trying to be learner centric, but this year for undergraduate students, we had totally given up the criteria. As you know, Vikram, that for our PG, that's especially for our flagship program, that's a management program, we're done with our management admissions, and today, Monday, yesterday was our official reopening for the next academic year, because we have a long 1.5 months orientation to get all the students on one platform. And we saw, because we generally in our admissions for management, we give weightage to the 12th, because the degree is, many of these students who are in their final year don't have their degree results. So we give weightage to the 12th standard marks as well. This time we did not have the weightage as usual given to the 12th standard, because we felt that the students would be at a disadvantage. And of course, we did give a certain weightage, but we have reduced the weightage and we have increased the weightage to a VAT process which we conducted. And the PI process where we generally conduct, the weightage was increased. So by and large, again, coming from different boards, it doesn't affect the admission process. The only thing that we do every year is immediately after the admissions are over and before the academic session starts, or as soon as the academic session starts, we just have an admission analysis, because if predominantly in a particular program, in a particular class, you have more of ICSE or CBSE students, the pedagogy needs to be oriented towards it. And if you have state board or any other board, it needs to be changed. So the faculty is counseled and the faculty development takes place in the first 1 month of the admissions and the academic year start, to orient the way of teaching to that particular cohort. It just restricts to that much for NMIMS. Rest, it's all the same. Happy.
Sure. Sure. Let me quickly go to Mr. Mahesh, sir. Aside of engineering program, how are you going to look at the weightage for class 12? Eligibility is for sure there, but if you don't have a test score, you have only interview and class 12 marks, the weightage on interview will go up, or the weightage on class 12 mark will go up? What's been your thinking around that?
Okay, Vikram, for engineering, we are strictly following the entrance test. And all the scores secured by the students during the entrance test, that is normalized. But at the same time, we are not looking at the class 12 marks this year for engineering. But yes, for other programs, like we have a few integrated programs focused with data science and scientific computing. So for those programs, we definitely will have to depend on the class 2 scores, but also with the interview. Because it is not just the class 2 boards marks as such. As Anil again, as he told, yesterday, same conversation came up. There are a large number of students from one or two different states that comes up with 95%, 98% marks. But at the same time, those students who are not into entrance exam, they perform well when they come to the academic system. So we need to understand, at least for some programs with handful of seats, for let us say 60 seats or 75 seats, we would always love to go with the assessment, talking to them, interacting with them, identifying their skills. And probably at this juncture, we may have to look at the 10th class marks also, because 2 years back, maybe they were serious. And they may have the skills, but it takes a time for us to nurture those skills. So certainly for engineering, we are definitely not going with the class 12 marks. It's just an eligibility criteria. But yes, for the other programs, certainly we will consider, but also along with the interview marks, where interview will play a vital role. So that is how it is.
Sure. So it is quite clear that wherever the universities are going to look at class 12 scores, and there is no entrance exam in that particular program, there will be something additional in the form of either the interview or a short test, like shared by Dr. Pillai as well as Mr. Mahesh, that the weightage will be given to those things more than the class 12 results. But there is a dichotomy here, and obviously I don't want to preempt with respect to what the administrators are looking at. And clearly they are going to come up with the scoring methodology for class 12. But there are a couple of perspectives which I have to kind of share here with the eminent panelists to get their inputs on. So one section of the society is kind of thinking or sharing their views with respect to whatever is being designed by the authorities for computing class 12 results. And in some of the media news or media reports, we have learned that this committee is going to look at either class 11 scores or pre-boards or internal assessment, which has been done by school, at least in class 11 and class 12, and then compute a score for a student. Now, historically, and this is again a feeling, I don't know to what extent it is true, but at the same time, it's a feeling that historically the pre-boards as well as internal assessments in class 12 are viewed very rigorously by the teachers, and they don't give you enough scores in those internal exams and pre-boards clearly to push the student to do well in the board exams. So if you look at a computation method which will come from the committee, if they say that class 11 as well as the pre-boards as well as the internals, whatever be the criteria, don't you think that some of those things, when it gets computed, will give you to some extent a cushion that those results which are computed have been done rigorously by the teachers when they evaluated them in class 11 and class 12 pre-boards? So what's your thinking around that, that you feel that whatever comes out, there is eligibility for sure, there is interview, there is something else which is going to happen for other programs. But at the same time, do you feel that when the computation comes out, you will be able to see that a student getting some score in class 10 and some in class 12 is able to perform for the programs which he or she has applied for? I can go to Dr. Gupta and ask him for his perspective on this. Sir, you are on mute.
It's a challenging question to answer. Because of that, you have rightly said, in class 11th and 12th, so they are rigorously, their answer scripts were rigorously checked by the teachers. And secondly, apart from that, means how many students have given seriously these examinations during the 11th and 12th? This is also a big question. Secondly, because of that, all these students are already given the board examination in 10th. So their weightage should be given for the 10th also, not for the 11th class. But some weightage for the partial weightage to be given for the internal assessment done in the 12th examination, like formative assessment or the summative assessment. And at school level, teachers or the school should look into again these answer scripts, whatever they have rigorously checked, and re-evaluate them, and then they award them marks accordingly. Not like that they have to mark them leniently, but they have to check it again. But the second question second question is that in many of these students, those are preparing for the engineering entrance examination, they have, even though they have not given the examination internal assessment at the school level. Like there's a big hub at the Kota, big hub at the Hyderabad, big hub at the Bangalore. Means at these cities, they are the major cities where the students are going for the coaching classes, and most of the students would not appear in the internal assessment examinations. So for them, what the school will do or what the board will do, there's a big challenge. So definitely I agree with that. If weightage to be given for the 10th because they have already appeared in the board examination. Secondly, the school has to look into their answer scripts seriously, so that the injustice to be not to be done with the students. Proper justice is to be given, and proper marks to be awarded to the student. Not means marks not to be awarded, means result not to be declared only on the basis of their internal assessment in the 12th class. They have to look into the 10th board also. That is my take.
Sure. What is your opinion, Mr. Kutti, on this with respect to how SRM is looking at this? Are you putting any criteria with respect to or any weightage to class 10 scores clearly and class 12 scores for non-engineering program?
My answer is going to have two parts. So first, let me take on the aspect of normalization that we have been discussing and deliberating, right? So when you talk about normalization, lucky enough, my predecessor said, lucky enough, we have the history, we have the data to analyze how do we do the normalization. And lucky enough, we have been able to do that with a brand of 50-year legacy. But yes, I would like to slightly to differ from what Guptaji said. 10th should be given priority. But mind you guys, we are already having two options here. I already told you, right? One is what the government is going to say, the directive. Second is the student is going to have an option to take it at the latest stage. So there's already two options. But I don't want to give out names. I was recently discussing with someone from CBSE. The government is coming up with a brilliant idea. I don't know how far it's going to be true, but let me break it to you. There's going to be an option where the student will have an option of either taking 10th and 12th, the average, or it's going to be 11th and 12th, completely disregarding 10th. But the beauty comes here. Government is planning to decide to choose the best of two, and whichever is going to be higher, they'll get the benefit of the student. So that's the beauty. So we're already having two options, and now the first option is already having 1A and 1B. I think that's going to really, really help the students, because the moment this news was said that 12th is cancelled, we're going to come with criteria, we see that so many students were confused. But I am going to tell all the viewers here that trust the process, trust the government. We have got the best brain sitting there trying to sort out this issue. And I believe this would be the best solution. Either give the choice to student, either 10 should be considered, 12 should be considered. Student is happy, no problem. Imagine I'm a commerce student. I do not want to study science in 10th. So I don't want 10th to be considered. So let's say 11th and 12th. And the highest mark, there you go, the student is out of the result. And to answer your another question, yes, there is one thing that I would request the stakeholders in the UGC or the governing bodies. We have something called as AIU, right, which is for all the universities. We have a common platform which does the equivalence, even for a foreign student or an Indian student, to have the cross-credit relevance. However, if you look into the national education system, not the higher ed, the normal school education system, there is there's simply no metrics to equalize all these standards. I think it's high time that government should come up with some kind of a common metrics. Of course, it's going to bring in a lot of roar here and there, but there should be some normalization at school level, because it's already happening at higher education. There is an Association of Indian Universities doing that. So I'm all looking forward. The NEP is really promising. I'm all excited. It's about a matter of time that we stakeholders here need to push that, the authorities a little bit further, giving in all the inputs. When the draft was there, I was so happy to see so many inputs coming in, and now that we see a beautiful policy being drafted. And I'm sure the government will take the right decision when it's about 12th. And I'm looking forward that student has the choice to choose the best of. This is my take.
I think that's a valid answer in that regard, and that brings me to the point actually with respect to, let me just put Mr. Anil and Dr. Kalai on the spot here, sir. And my apologies, I'm putting you on spot. Most of the top global universities are going test optional now. They are saying that we are going to do a profile-based admission. We don't need any standardized testing scores and all that. Look at that in the light of, in India, a candidate has to go through class 12 boards, and therefore each private university, majority of them have their own test. So as a candidate, if I shortlist 5 universities, I have to write 5 different tests to apply to those universities. So it's a burden on me as a candidate. What do you think that, like global universities are doing eventually in India, because of new NEP and our revised NEP, there is a proposal for one nation, one test and all. Do you think that we will eventually go that route, that we will actually support the students and parents by reducing the number of tests for admissions? Sir, over to you first, Anil.
Right. Should I?
Yeah.
Okay, hi. So, Vikram rightly said it's a very tricky question. So I'm giving this as very personal opinion and as a personal capacity. Okay, don't take it at the university. Look, it's an ideal situation. I'm just going back again. My whole thought and empathy is towards always student. That's the center point for me always. As a student, it's an ideal situation to have why we need to pressurize student again and again. Unfortunately, I believe the whole system of 10th and all, it's a compartmentalization. Okay, I'm sorry, 10th is the first level where we tag a student, average student, brilliant student, and okay student. If you're taking sciences, you're a brilliant student. You're taking commerce, okay, fine. And later on also, if you're taking commerce with CA or CA foundation again. So this is in history, overall historically what we are doing it, Now, what happened in European and other part of the world, they have done one. It's possible there, Vikram, but our biggest challenge, I don't know why we are not discussing. I talked to a lot of panelists and seniors there. When we were young, there used to be a question come population explosion. It used to be one question used to come. I'm again saying the whole problem is we are dealing with a big mass. Okay, it's not about NEP only or this government, state government, how the education. It's a very vast structure. Today I'm seeing there's a SMS going on. We have vaccinated whole Mexico. We have vaccinated, each day we have vaccinated certain countries. So it's a huge mammoth task. Now it's a wish list that we should be having a one. As I'm saying, that should be ideal, but it's not easy because the logistic nightmare is there and all. You need to consider this policy, if you're doing an online test, how the logistic you're going to do it. See this logistic of that 14 lakh, 15 lakh of JE, how mammoth task force is there, MTS to be organized, joined. How we conduct. Can you imagine what is the number of 12th board what we have? CBSE is only 80 lakh. I'm not counting.
3 crores.
So can you, so you see every year this pool is coming up and all, how are you going to manage this? So it's a good wish list to happen, but current circumstances, it will take a time. However, we can do a baby steps. As rightly, I'm going back to what Professor Maheshwara mentioned, why we don't have an interview and other system for engineering as a pool. In a given scenario, you're 60-70% of a pool in that university, which is multidisciplinary, go for engineering. You can't expect 400 faculty to take 8,000 interviews. Not possibly humanly. What time you going to give? You give 20 minutes or 10 minutes or 15? Ultimately, you're doing a mockery for that interview system. It's possible for a smaller cohort, and it's possible where you're not looking the problem solving aptitude and technical capability. That's why this test gives us that sound base. So for an example, a student want to make a career in history. You're not going to ask him a rocket science question. It's basically his passion about history, why he want to do, and probably you want to see where the progressive student want to go. Similarly, as a literature, English is passion. That's where I think faculty interaction can play a very pivotal role. And it's not, doesn't come in a large number. That's easy for you. So in my thought, very personally, it's a good thought. We should probably go progressive with, certain schools specifically, programs specifically, which I believe the current progressive university doing like that. Also probably you ask Dr. Meena for a particular program, they're taking interview also and session. And for a program, they're only going by merit list, which we are doing it. So I think we should start with that, which is ease out load. So my approach would be taking baby steps toward this, go with certain programs in all sectors, because right now we are talking about a big thought process. We need to go back and go to the drawing board and understand the overall structure of India. As I told you, NIS, we are not taking national schools. We are not taking government, central government, private sector. So we need to consider all that. So I think it will take a time. Then the bottom line, which I feel the nutshell, it will take a time, but it's a good thought. NEP probably can be a progressive, which we can start step by step. So Vikram, that's my opinion.
Thank you, sir. Dr. Kalai, what is your quick opinion on that?
I think Mr. Anil elaborately told about that. So even in the context of NEP, I think this is a set of retro thinking, having one test for everybody. The point of NEP is to have a diversity, but again, you are trying to converge everything to one test will not work actually. Instead, this is again, as he said, a personal opinion, and in general, observing for the last 30 years what's happening. This is my personal, as an educator and academician, this is what my opinion, not the management's or VIT's opinion. This is also, I want to clear it very much, okay? So in that perspective, the school system should be strengthened. For example, you are talking about the academic bank for the higher education, wherein you bank your credit and ultimately get degree from any institute. So like a similar setup should be there for the school, wherein, for example, the design thinking or creative thinking is entirely different from engineering analytics. Completely different. So you cannot ask them to admit them into engineering. I have seen many students fail just because of that. They go through the rigorous engineering programs. At the end of the program, they just get a degree and try something very different, which is their passion actually. So we should be able to give the chance at the earliest stage. If that is to happen, I don't think this one test for everybody will not work. Instead, we should have a system of recording the students' interest as a continuous assessment right from the school days. That will be more inclusive. For example, a student from Rajasthan, remote place, even though he may be intelligent, he may have the aptitude and all, he cannot be compared. He may not be able to take that one test. So what happened to this JEE? You see, whoever without coaching, we are just coaching. We have developed only the coaching institutes larger than the actual schooling system. Instead, my sincere opinion is that the schooling system should be improved, properly documented, so that we don't need this one test at all. If we have a system of evaluation, the assessment at schooling level, that should be enough for most of the higher education. That's my opinion.
Sure, sir. So going by what's happening on the ground, it is very clear that JEE, NEET, all such exams for this year will happen sometime by end of July, beginning August. And by the time the results will come out, it will be somewhere around end August, beginning September. So clearly the session for this year for many university will be pushed to October, September or October timeframe. So in the light of that, for all the class 12 students, what do you suggest, Mr. Mahesh? What do you suggest to them for the next 3 months? What should they do? Especially in the light of if they've got an admission in some of the private university, what should be their approach?
So it's a right question, Vikram. See, the first thing is, if they have already secured an admission, I believe there is nothing much to worry about, unless otherwise they want to look out for another option. And just like last year, I strongly believe that UGC will be flexible in terms of refunding the fees. So there is nothing to worry about. But at the same time, since they are entering a totally different sphere of in life, for example, they are moving from the school to an engineering or a higher education degree, the most important thing is to upskill themselves. And it is very, very important if they think from the perspective for maybe for the next 2, 3 or 4 years time. Very important thing is to get the necessary skills, especially the technological skills. Irrespective of the domain, we all know that this artificial intelligence and machine learning and those things are now buzzwords, data analytics or data science. So the most important and critical skills required for this 21st century that needs to be learned at this point of time, because now anyway we are clear that there are no board exams anymore. And we are just waiting for the way in which the marks will be tabulated. And with an admission or with an admission which already you have, just chill. And my suggestion will be make use of these 3 months, learn as much as possible. So by the time they enter the new program, they have necessary skills and not much worried, need not get much worried about the future things, because we have to wait and see anyway. So the need of the hour is to upskill themselves. Yeah. Thank you, Vikram.
Sure. Dr. Meena, what's your opinion for next 3 months? And as you already
Vikram,
clarified, that
I also
your
would like to
sessions will
add,
start.
Dinesh, I'd also like to add on one thing about the previous discussion,
Sure.
because you were a party to that. When NMAT was acquired by GMAT, NMAT was one of the tests which was conducted for management studies for entry into the management programs at NMIMS. But after GMAT acquired NMIMS, I think today 26 universities are accepting the NMAT score. So somewhere, even, these tests, when they get standardized and when they're accepted, we get a student feedback that it is a little bit of ease for them because they have to give NMAT. Probably they give CAT and they might have to give NMAT. That is what we get a feedback when we take surveys. So my personal opinion will be, engineering admissions or domain specific admissions, if at least can, or probably the private universities coming together, having admissions and having more liberalization in thinking of getting the students be at ease, if that is the thought process, might work. Then coming to your question here, what the students should do for the next 3 months. Number one, NMIMS doesn't have 3 months. We start right away on the August 6th for the other programs, and for the technical programs is what we start on the August 16th. AICTE has already given their calendar. So somewhere around 15 days we lag behind in case of engineering, but management, I think we're lagging behind by 1 month. So we'll extend the orientation and the induction program and all that. So what happens is, first we tell students, enough of the unprecedented time that you have been going through for the last 1.5 years. Number one, take care of your health. Mentally be prepared that the next 3 years or 4 years, or 5 years, depending upon the program that you have selected, is somewhere that you're going to be churned, and you need to be mentally prepared that you give your fullest, whether it's going to be any which ways. We have been doing a blended learning mode. We've been practicing for a long time. but be sure you're not going to continue with 100% online. So come out of your comfort zone sometimes and be mentally prepared and take care of your health and you need to get into the family to gel with the family. It's always, when you are getting into a family, you just do your homework saying that how is it, how are the people, what is the kind of ethos that they have, are they really like a school, because we have the names as school of pharmacy, school of engineering. And so you mentally be prepared for what you're going to be doing, because this is going to be the best time of your life. The graduation is going to be the best time of your life. At the same time, it's going to be your career path for the rest of your life. So be sure and be mentally prepared and come 100% with faith to NMIMS that you're going to be in safe hands and we're going to be taking care of you. Don't worry about our ROI, because I feel students who come to our institute, the first and foremost during the foundation and the orientation program, this is what is their first question. Probably it's a problem with this generation itself. But still, take care of your health, be sound, be safe, and have faith. We'll take care of the rest because you're there with us for the next 3 years, 4 years, 5 years of the program. Please.
Sure, we have almost extended the time, but I think it's a very interesting conversation, and I'm taking the liberty of asking a couple of more questions to the panelists.
Sure.
One is clearly from a perspective which actually Mr. Mahesh and Mr. Anil also touched on that. Very, very briefly, they touched on that. But very clearly, if I have to ask this question from a student's point of view, that what should I do today which will help me to secure a seat in a university? Clearly, Mr. Mahesh shared with us that the UGC guideline clearly states that if you get selected in University A and then later on you get selected to University B, and if your choice is University B, you will get the refund of your fees as per UGC guidelines. Like last year, they'll have something issued this year as well, or the last years will be applicable for this year. I don't know. I'm just asking this question. But the point is, how as an administrator are you going to manage if, let's say, you have 100 seats and you have enrolled those 100 kids, and at the end of the day, 3 months down the road, 20 of them or 15 of them or 10 of them are going to go and join option B, which is their preference. So what steps are you taking today to ensure that you don't end up with 90 students for 100 seats? Mr. Kutty, you can go first, and then I can go to Dr. Gupta.
Yeah. I don't know how well you're acquainted, Vikram. SRM was one of the first university in the country to have a collaboration with NASSCOM, and we launched something called as Future Skills University. So Future Skills is an online platform where the student can do a plethora of courses. And what we have done, to the students is that to engage them, we sort of give all these courses free of cost for anyone who applies to SRM, number one. Second, if they're going to apply to any other university or if they're going to withdraw as per the UGC guidelines, no problem whatsoever. We believe that we have made some contribution in terms of skilling the young generation. The student has the ability to walk away with the certificate without any questions asked. And at the same time, we are least bothered about the option of students going to another campus. We are happily able to do that. But we're also on the other side very confident that the way we deal with the way we engage with the students. For example, this Future Skills platform, it's not just for technology. You have courses on political science, you have courses on psychology, very carefully, beautifully curated contents by industry experts, right? And these platforms, the day one the student is applying to SRM, the day he finishes his processes, without even paying the complete tuition fee, we are giving the platform access. We are creating login credentials for the students to access that. I believe once a student accesses that, there is no way going back. And of course, there are going to be few numbers here and there for obvious reasons, maybe distance, they want to stay closer to their home. There are 100 reasons. We perfectly understand that and you're ready to take a hit. But it has never been a headache for me because I believe the way the platform is being curated, the way the engagement model works, it's least of my headache to see how much people are going to withdraw. That has never been my headache, and it's never also going to be a headache.
Sure. Dr. Gupta, a quick comment on that. Sir, you are on mute.
Like it's rightly said, what happened if they are choosing the option B? And last year, like this same situation was there, and we started engaging the students from the month of August. And similarly, in this year also, we are already prepared to start our classes in blended mode or whatever the mode the government suggests, online and offline. We are ready to take it. And even though after the admissions, mean we have given the remote access to all the students for the library. And even though there are different kind of online courses also we are having, and we have given the access to them. So within a means gap period, they can prepare for that also. And similarly, like some of the programs we are offering, like integrated program BLLB, BBLLB, we say no university or no one can take the admission access to that. Like we are having the 60 seats, then we have to take the 60. And such problem is not there with us, whether in the architecture program or whether the integrated program or law programs. And similarly, this year also we are ready to start the classes. This means in any time means this year also we are ready to take the start the classes, blended mode or in the online mode. And apart from that means we are handling all such kind of queries or such kind of questions, because every students in last year what we faced during the admissions, many of the themselves in the 4 or 5 universities, and they have checked them their means curriculum, they have checked them their classes, they have checked them their study level, what kind of academic means level how they are teaching, and then they came back to us again. So that is a mode of means that is only depend upon the students what the university they are looking for, but definitely they have to look for the best university. And now this year and the last year is it's all because of this situation, COVID situations. This university education system is divided into the 2 parts. Those are having the perfect infrastructure, or those are not having the infrastructure. So firstly, students are looking for the universities or the institutes those are having the infrastructure. And the Manipal University, Jaipur is one of them. So thank you, Vikram. Thank you, that's.
Thank you, sir. I'll quickly take a couple of questions from audiences, and there are some university specific questions which I think we will respond to the students or the parents separately, but general questions with respect to admissions for all universities. All the universities which are here present, their application forms are on. If couple of them application forms are not on, they are going to open the 3rd or the 2nd round depending on wherever they are. So correct me if I am wrong, panelist, please, because there are questions with respect to when the application form will get over, or if some universities application forms are already over. So I'm answering that question to all students, all parents, that for all these 6 universities, you can
Vikram,
still yes, sir.
sorry, VIT has closed the application.
Okay, sir. But sir, you mentioned in the beginning that you are going to open round 2 or something, or no, I'm mistaken.
No, I haven't mentioned anything like that.
Okay, sir. I'm sorry, sir. Then aside of VIT, if I have to just share all the universities, you can apply to those universities which are here. My apologies for VIT, sir. I was under the impression that you are going to open the 2nd round. I was mistaken there. Last question before we wind up broadly to Anil sir. Sir, what is your suggestion to students and parents, especially to parents who are very anxious about what is to be done with respect to class 12 and UG admissions? So anything if you have to share with parents as a closing note, and Mr. Mahesh, Dr. Meena, Dr. Kalai, anyone can pitch in, but Mr. Anil, what is your suggestion to students and parents?
I think I'll sum up with my starting statement. We have moved from uncertainty to inquisitiveness, curiosity mode. We have moved. So I'll go back again with added up to what Professor Maheshwar said and mentioned in one of my webinar earlier. Look, now every student and parent should be planning this time plan B strategy. Okay, they need to make sure that they secure their plan B. Okay, whatever subject, topic or not. Okay, what does that mean? Let's say I am an aspirant for, let's say IIT. Okay, and I am in the first Feb and March, I scored 98 percentile, definitely 97.23 of like last year trend. I may come in the advance, which will happen. Probably we get a tentative date. It will happen. What will happen? Slightly uncertainty. It will happen definitely, but slightly uncertainty, clarity. There's a slightly cloud. We still not see the silver lining after that. My suggestion is that all of you need to be able to secure a particular seat in progressive university of your program you'd like it. Okay. So the suggestion is that make sure that fix your particular, it's like that you're doing an advance booking for your seat for plan B. Rest assured that you will fall back plans are there and focus on what Maheshwar said. This is an opportunity for you. Earlier it was happening in April. Now you have June, July. There's a 2 months. Try to go back and study well. Okay. Give more focus there and all, because you're rest assured, God forbidden, one person, if it doesn't happen, I have my plan B there. So they need to plan with all parents like that, So somebody, let's say, aspiring to go for English honors in St. Stephen College, you never know what will happen now, but at least if you find that this program in X university is pretty good, yes, it's option B, let me secure a seat here and relax. And what will happen? Because whatever pattern will come, whatever exam procedure will come, whatever DU university will do, it would be all same for everybody. So it's like that we are all in same. But yes, don't create more anxiety and anxious. Just focus and prepare for whatever you want to do. Like all the engineering aspirant for JEE should prepare. This is the right time. Rest of the student can actually, if there's an exam related to that, prepare for that. Otherwise, they can enjoy and book their seats. So this is my advice that go with plan B options right now. Secure a seat. And please don't defocus from plan A. And that doesn't mean that I'm telling you, you just forgot plan A, focus. Second more thing I wanted to tell, all parents and students I'm advising, please, before choosing an institute, you should zero down on a program, what you like to, what you aspire to. The fundamental mistake, what I've seen a lot of students are doing that, and that's where it is a problem in progressive career growth. You end up landing to a university and a program which is not of your choice. You not aspire to do that program. So zero down on a program and identify 1, 2, 3 university which you feel with certain parameters will take you to your goals, what you wanted to know. So this is what I want to say. Plan B strategy, zero down to a program first, then university. That's what I want to say, and all the best to all the candidates. Yeah.
Any other panelists would like to add on that? Because I think Mr. Anil is quite clear in terms of guidance to students and parents that focus on your plan B and focus on the program rather than university. So those are the 2 guiding points from eminent panelists. Anyone would like to add anything on top of that?
I just wanted to add one thing, Vikram, over and above of what Mr. Anil was saying, because nowadays the students and the parents, they have a lot of exposure. So just don't go with the herd mentality or the kind of program or the university which is doing well. You need to see where your child has an aptitude and where he will fit in properly. There are cases where he's a brilliant child, but doesn't fit into system A, but he might fit into system B, which he would have never thought of. So now is the time, probably this is the way, take opportunity because you have time. Generally, we don't get so much of time where you can think and you can apply, you can scroll through. You have so many webinars, you have so many people talking about it. But the ultimate person who needs to decide is you and your parents. I mean, I still depend on parents is because we are we are a system in India where still parents predominantly decide for the students, especially the class 12 students. So you have a lot of time in hand. Keeping aside the public or the private sector, look into your choice first. Don't have any kind of a mind block saying that this used to do well, this is doing well. See what's the best for you, because I feel you have a plethora of choices today, and I'm sure if every person has to be choosing their own passion or their own program of choice, they still will be having the opportunity to do that. And luckily, this time you do have a lot of time in hand, and parents at home and kids at home, and you have a lot of time for discussion within yourselves also. So take care, stay safe, and all the very best to everybody. Hope all of you get the choice that you have in your mind that comes true, and go ahead with a successful career. Good way.
Thank you so much, all the eminent panelists, for sharing your views, personal views, university views. In fact, most of you are admission directors driving admissions for so many years. and sharing this views with respect to what are you going to look at in class 12, how the admissions will be different this year, what kind of things you are going to look at. So a couple of things which I have to actually plug in here for students. Look at the interviews. Please prepare for interviews in this 3 months or 2 months whenever you get opportunity, because clearly aside of your board marks, interview is one of the other key factor which will play a role in your admissions, for largely for those programs where there is no entrance exam. So look at that, plan your look at your plan B clearly, look at the program as rightly said by Mr. Anil and Dr. Meena, rather than thinking about an institution. So those are the key takeaways from this session. I again thank all of you for joining on this webinar and sharing your perspective with prospective students and parents. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much, ma'am, for joining on the webinar.
Thank you.
Take care and
Stay safe. Be happy.
Stay
Thank
safe.
you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.